Hello guys, it's Zoe, and welcome back to Gameline X. So the Skull and Bones is finally here, after being delayed a very whopping 6 times. I have played this game myself. It's really amazing, it really exists, and it only took 11 years of clueless management, directionless development, and a lot of bad decisions making to finally get it high. So talking about with Skull and Bones. So, over 300 people, from 12 to 11 years working on this is taking ship their blood, sweat and tears you spent to get it on a store shelves. And while we can't use something like Steam charts to evaluate the popularity of the game, because it's already exclusive right now, I think it's safe to say, I have to imagine the last 3 years probably been the most substantial in terms. So it's probably not a $120 million game budget, and definitely not in terms of sales. It's really hard, obviously, but development of Skull and Bones, with this especially, there were problems from the start, and things only got worse as development progressed. It's been an impossible game. Nobody liked working on it. Nobody wants to play it, but Ubisoft spent over $100 million to make it. How does something like that even happen? What actually happened? Let's get back to the Ubisoft press conference. In E3 2017, Skull and Bones was officially announced, and already people were confused. What is everybody think of? Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, which is, by the way, one of the better game of the series. So right from there, they expect. It's already said you're thinking of a ship combat, but also an open world with swashbuckling adventures on foot. That's what people expected. And also very explicitly, what they wanted: a Black Flag content, follow-up with the Assassin's Creed license filled off, and some new stuff. That's all Skull and Bones had to be. In fact, this game wouldn't have really been a difficult game to make. They simply just started off with the Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. They could have done that in a year. 2 years after Black Flag came out, but instead of, they showed us Loot Hunt in a 5-on-5 multiplayer arena thing. Nobody knew exactly what this game was supposed to be, from what I can gather. But Ubisoft was trying to replicate their success with Rainbow Six Siege with some pirate ships thing. This game changed focus so many times over the years. The one thing that remained consistent was the last thing, but with pirate ships, everything else changed. Combat was basically the one thing they knew they could do well. So they cramped it, that square peg, in every round hole they could think of, and funny enough, the game was always going to be some kind of spiritual successive black box. In 2013, when development first started, it was meant to be a multi-layer expansion to that game. It was later transitioned off into a Black Flag. Then it got pushed back again and again, blowing past its estimated budget multiple times over. These questions would be left unresolved for years. Like databases just remain broken or unfinished, only be brought back again and completely vanished. But development was basically like a dog chasing its own tail. You can't look at the game and not see a PS4 game, no matter how much they tried to dial it up. Didn't look all that good during the initial previews, and it doesn't look a lot better now. Former employees complained that leadership was off and arrogant, dismissive of any criticism whatsoever. It was also a pretty clear cultural divide for the Ubisoft developers, always secondary to people brought in from other studios of the main office and brains. The whole place sounded incredibly dysfunctional. These guys have experience in making a huge game, and they don't know how to coordinate with other studios without it being a big mess. But instead of planning ahead, they just tried to muddle through and hope for the best. It wasn't just that management poorly, different teams also struggled to work together. But it was like the studio had to relearn every lesson that a lot of other developers already dealt with and figured out years ago. This is a studio that could do one thing really, really well, but just didn't have a lot of experience doing anything else. Many of the things they had to do for the game, it was all completely new territory for the development. Wow, And it only took 7 years to figure that out. Just make Black Flag again. But without all those unnecessary features, like a story mode and third-person combat. Nobody cares about that stuff, right? You think that'd be the end of it? In 2023, they added additional supernatural elements to the game. After years of saying there'll be no sea monster in those ships. The character models are awkward, they don't even look a lot more detailed. Somehow the water physics don't look as good. Yeah, don't look as good as, again, that came out 2013 for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. It feels like you are trapped. And it is tiny little, you can't even see what's the transition boat to walking around on foot, a huge part of the pirate. That was present in Black Flag. It's always going to feel inferior to the game it's based on. Like Black Flag, you can board enemy ships. It switches to third-person combat. You can swing onto the enemy ship with a rope. The main thing is that they knew what everyone is going to compare this game. Like that would be worth 120 million or more the money. Just how difficult and expensive it is to make a game like this work. Normally when a game ships that require constant maintenance and updates. I haven't talked much about the actual game because there's no a lot to talk about it. It's just Black Flag with a bunch of standard service crap on top of it. It's dull. Looking at it, it feels really out of date and unambitious. So wrapping up, that's all for today's news coming. Let us think, like the video, subscribe and watch our videos every day of the week. The best way to see the first courses. And so, subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, thank you very much for watching this video. See you next time.